You think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
Since I talk the least these days, I'm going to make another introduction. My name's Stuart Brisgel. This is David Solomon, and we're a group. We call ourselves the Rant Network. We actually spent the money to make a company and have now been ranting for over a year, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and sometimes an extra ad lib, 5 minutes here and there. And we sort of post social justice type stuff, political stuff, marketing stuff, business stuff, economic stuff. And we kind of go around talking about different topics, sometimes in advance of them breaking in the news, sometimes while they're breaking, sometimes as they're happening live, and sometimes we want to gather our thoughts about events that are really current. Today, we've got a lot to talk about. Like we have the brink of the world at war, where you have Russia, as David used earlier before we went live, acting like a colonialist. Dave, I'm giving you credit. And, when does the world recognize that when you're dealing with a madman who has already historically used weapons of mass destruction, currently is bombing hospital, women, children, even pregnant women, indiscriminately, that we should actually care about the optics? There you go, rabbit ears, David, rabbit quote, air quotes, right? You know, I can't for the life of me. And again, the title World War or madman like Genghis Khan wanting to rip the world apart into pieces without any regards to anything but his own ego. David, you said you could wing this one. Let's go.
Well, look, here's the crazy thing, and it's just fascinating. You're right. We got Vladimir Putin, who sounds hell of a lot like other crazy dictators, who wanted to have a greater country, right? And a lot of people have been comparing him to Donald Trump, and I've been hearing that and going, it just shows you how people like to be extremist when it comes up to American politicians. Because yes, the January 6th incursion on the Capitol Hill compares to war in the Ukraine. This is how people are talking, and this is what makes no sense of why people, I find, and I'm going to use the word, are being stupid. Folks, when you've got somebody who goes into and invades an independent country like Putin did and is looking to erase Ukraine, purge, those are the words that are being used. And he's talking about that there is no Ukrainian people, that there is no Ukrainian history. And, he doesn't care. Folks, this is real. And the sad part is the media, yeah, it's great to have all these anchors in Ukraine or Poland. It looks so good for the TVA, Stuart. It looks great when I see Lester Holt from NBC standing there, oh, we're here in Ukraine, I'm like, great. I'm so happy you're in the middle of a goddamn war zone, you putz. But what's the focus on, right? It's not about anything more than sensationalism. Your media is disgusting. What's not brought to the table by any of these guys is finishing a war, doing something to end this. No, the topics are, look, it's great fodder. And I heard this the other day. Did you hear about the little kid who was singing, Let It Go in a bomb shelter?
Ukraine.
Listen, guys, this is not funny. There's so much, this is serious. And what are we doing about it? And you're saying, David, well, Stuart, you and David are just ranting, you're talking. Yes, we're trying to bring real world stuff to the forefront, not talk about, those heartbreaking stories. There's a war. Stuart, there's a dictator. And
but hang on, but why do they think we can logically, rationally end this conflict oh, we're going to starve the people of Russia. Let's decimate the ruble. Let's cut them off from their Big Macs, Coca-Colas, and their Visa and MasterCards. I don't know about Amex yet.
No.
Let's
Well, yeah,
stop
maybe.
let's stop shipping our Nikes to a population that the head of state, Putin,
Well,
doesn't give a shit.
It's funny because I was asked the same question. Like, so why are you hurting the people if it's the leader you need to hurt? Well, the problem is that in order to hurt the leader, you have to hurt the people. It really sucks. But the people theoretically elected this nutcase in. I mean, of course, I say theoretically. There are no democratic elections when you're president for life. But this is the problem, Stuart. The problem is that the world doesn't really understand what's going on. We treat, and we talked about this in another rant, we treat every country, we're an arrogant society. We treat every country as if it's like the US and Canada. Like we act this way, the whole world should act this way. Who the hell are we to talk like this?
But that's the same thing with climate control, David. Yeah. Everyone thinks that we're going to cut everything in the United States. They're not cutting it in India. They're not cutting it in China, Pakistan, Malaysia.
Why? But listen, and that's the thing. We focus our attention on the Indias and the Chinas and the Gulf states, and we say, well, why aren't you condemning Russia? And why aren't you? And again, it's all about geopolitics and complexities, where unfortunately, thanks to the Obama administration, those countries had to seek new partnerships, and we're not going to get into this whole thing, but they had to seek new partnerships.
I can go back to Carter.
Yeah, but
you know what? I've always, I've said constantly that I would be a 1950 Democrat, which is a modern day left of center Republican, right?
Yeah.
And you want to know something? Kennedy had challenges with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Again, dealing with a madman. But the difference to the Cuban Missile Crisis and the invasion of the Ukraine is that there are thousands upon thousands of people being murdered in the street by a madman that the West is trying to figure out, can we appease? Let Mr. Putin, I'm sorry, Mr. Like, what is the world waiting for? Listen, I don't think we need to go. I don't think we need to go and blow up Moscow.
I hear this a lot.
What I think you need to do is you need to go back to your borders, Putin. We're going in to push you back to your borders. We're going to stop at your borders. And if you continue this madman, maybe we'll consider bombing your major cities. That's World War, when you want to go bomb within Russia.
What you want to do? Is that what you're trying to do? Because essentially,
I think the West needs to go in, push the Russians way back to their border.
How, Stuart? Stuart, how? Because you're going
to have to shoot them out of the sky, David.
There's no intestinal fortitude in the West to stand up to. That's live ranting for you folks. There's no intestinal fortitude in the West. And you know what? When Justin Trudeau goes and talks and gives his speeches, and he's a drama teacher, so it sounds all wonderful, I know it's full of crap. And when Biden stands up there and talks, I know it's full of crap. Okay? And the reality is that there's not
the difference between Trudeau and Biden is that Trudeau remembers what he said the day before. Biden has told what he's been saying.
But Stuart, it doesn't matter what, like, those comments are irrelevant to the Ukrainian people. Zelensky stood up and he addressed Congress, and he's addressed other parliaments, including the UK Parliament, and he said, "Where are you? Where are you? You promised."
Great Britain is has historically been a bigger leader because it's also their backyard, right? So Great Britain, who took the lead in World War II long before the U.S. got it because it's their backyard. Germany went after them. Is it going to take Russia to kill an American or someone in Poland or someone in Italy?
But that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen, Stuart. That's what's exactly what the problem.
So we're waiting for this. Let's just listen to this. Just follow the logic.
Yes.
I'm going to wait for the guy holding the semi-automatic weapon in a mall in broad daylight in front of everyone But the minute he kills the white girl or the black girl, we're going to let him
Stuart,
hold the gun and threaten the
Stuart,
world.
Stuart.
You
You
can't
know
do
what?
that.
Because I'll tell you why. We in the West have become, look, listen, we no one, I don't think anybody has the desire to go to war, right? No one has. But to me, I'm ill when I hear these kinds of statements. And nobody wants to go to war. And and so, but what do? We have a NATO, and we have all these alliances, and I know they're old and they've been around from the old Soviet days, but what's the point of having it's like, let's have a club, let's talk about the club, let's promote the club, but the club has no teeth. We're not doing anything. So
I mean, the minute you start killing women and children indiscriminately, right, is a precursor to chemical weapons. When you indiscriminately blow up or in and around nuclear power plants and start cutting and changing power, isn't that enough? Like, what is a red line?
there is no
Obama was a red line guy,
no,
and
no, no.
that's why a key
Stuart,
reason why we're here
but
today.
you still haven't given me the solution. What you've given me is
No, the solution is that you've got to, yes, giving weapons into the Ukraine and further arming them, I think is a brilliant decision. They are a very, very tenacious, strong people that want to keep, right, their country from communism. It's since 1918, the war, when, really it became what it was, right? That's really the start of this issue. And then the communists took over, right? The war. Hey, this is where this all begins. 100-year-old argument that isn't going to be resolved without blood. Period.
so what you're
Just
saying right now, that the only way to do this,
yep.
is to simply declare war on Russia.
There is no to protect the Ukraine from Russia, and there's a difference with that, David. That's not causing war with Russia. Russia's where they're not supposed to be. Okay? So I don't think that's declaring war against Russia. That's just protecting the border of a sovereign nation.
I'm just asking you, and again, I'm putting it out there because people are more concerned right now with their gas tanks than
They
the outcome
are with
of
women
Ukraine.
and children.
And
Yeah,
right, and
scary.
so the only thing is that if the United States refuses to get involved in the no-fly zone, the West refuses to do what it needs. And again, the beautiful thing is, let's blame Trump because he didn't give Ukraine the weapons they needed. And you know what, folks, it's the blame game's useless.
A
We're here.
true leader
What
doesn't
do we
blame.
do? What do we do? That's the key to me. I don't understand. And to go to war, I get it. I don't want to go to war. Okay, I never did. But at this point, if we let Ukraine fall, the next country, are we going to wake up? Or do we have to wait till 2 countries, 3 countries, 5 countries?
Exactly. But David, understand this. If you give the Ukrainian army everything they're asking for to protect their borders and to clean up the mess that Putin started, why are we so concerned on how we give it to them? The world knows how they got it. The Russian military knows how they got it. The world is there. Everything's being reported. Why are we trying to pussy willow around the field? Because all we're going to do is push poppies. David, we grew up in Canada. All we're going to do is, how many more poppies do you have to push to just accept the fact that a madman doesn't negotiate?
We know that. And unfortunately, on that note, we're going to have to wait until we have to wait every day to see what happens.
Yep.
David, ladies and gentlemen,
it's
reached the top of our quarter hour, and I think I let Stuart talk a lot more than he's cried about. So we'll be back here again on Monday. Next week, let's just hope for the safety, and with the, we're praying for the people of Ukraine and others for safety. We look forward to seeing you all next week. Wishing you well. Peace.